I think just as a bigger picture, Alan, as well, and you hear all sorts of murmurs and whispers. Maybe it's just from the outside crowd. That's why I'm bringing it up. But for the whole series, for Lions in general, we want this. I think I mentioned it last week, but this is really vital. This match is close enough at the weekend. Because if it isn't, you hear all sorts of chat. Oh, is Australia not the place to go for are the Lions far too superior for them? Will this be the last time? It's a one-off or a series against the Wallabies. But what do you make of all that? Or is that just, no, this Australian team aren't there, and in 12 years' time, who knows? They could be the best team in the world.
Yeah, I think they've gone through a difficult period. I think the World Cup was extremely disappointing for them, and they've had a tough couple of years, I think. And Joe Schmidt can only select who's available to him. He's an excellent coach. He's proven that. Everybody in Ireland knows so much about Joe, and obviously he went on and coached with New Zealand and picked off probably one of the greatest Irish sides we've had at a World Cup in that quarter-final in France. And I think the talk about, you just never know what South Africa, New Zealand or Australia are going to be like every 12 years. More often than not, with respect to Australia, they're probably the ones that kind of float up and down a bit. South Africa always seem to get themselves right for a line series. New Zealand, the same. I think I've referenced probably 2017 a lot to people on this tour here, how tight it was, how intense the warm-up games were in New Zealand. They've had a pretty much an armchair ride the whole way through, this Lions team, and it's not great for the kind of the tour, the narrative around the tour, but there's absolutely no way you can just decide, well, we're not going to Australia anymore. There's too much history gone on here. They've won series against the Lions many times before. They've won World Cups, but it is a tough situation. They're competing with Aussie rules, rugby league, cricket, and they're down the pecking order, and it's a challenge for them. And it's a difficult situation. You talk to people here in Melbourne, and it's all about the AFL. Up in Brisbane, huge amount about AFL and NRL as well. So, it's a challenge for them, and they're constantly. Rugby union is constantly fighting with the other sports to try and gain some traction of the more popular ones, and they're just historically more popular here in Australia. So I think for the Lions tour, it would, Andy Farrell and the Lions would love to get the job done and win the series 2-0. I just hope that, again, the scoreline last week is not a bad scoreline in the end of it, but I think you watch the game.
They were never going to win the match.
I don't think they were ever going to win the game, and the Lions were very, very dominant. Let's hope it's better this week. And dare I say it, if Australia won this Test match, it would make the excitement and the intensity of going to Sydney next week. It would make the tour, and that's the reality. I think any Lions
also,
fan
as you say, if they win this week, my question there is completely redundant. And it's like, what's everyone going on about? It's 1-1 here and we're in the decider.
Yeah, and I think, look, it's unfair. I don't know the reasons why they didn't play more warm-up games and try and, get some preparation, real top preparation, couple of hard games, even if they lost a couple of games in the build-up to this. Try and iron out little creases and little problems and situations. And I think they will have picked a lot of stuff from last week that if they get it right and get better at, I think it'll benefit them. So, look, I was here in 2013 as well. The Lions won the first game narrowly, only by 2 points. Curtly Beale missed a long-range penalty to win it for Australia. I think the right team won that first test. The Lions were pretty dominant. Australia won the second test. They were brilliant, and I think they won it by a point, 16-15, wasn't it? And then the third test, the Lions were very, very dominant. They won with a big score, 41-16. So, yeah, I think the Lions fans wouldn't be too upset if, of course, they want their team to win and wrap it up. But I just think if you kind of remove yourself from being in a fan situation, it would be brilliant if Australia get a result at the weekend. I just don't know if they're good enough to do it. I'm hopeful they'll be a lot better. But this is a very, very good line side, and Andy Farrell's, he's got this team peaking at the right time. He's manoeuvred and managed them the whole way through really well, and I just feel that it'll take an incredible performance from Australia to beat this line side. Not because they've been brilliant in attack, or they've been, so playing this outstanding running game or expansive game. They haven't. They've been pragmatic at times. They've kicked well. They kicked 34 times last week in the game. So they do kick a lot, and they use that kicking game very effectively. It's not I wouldn't be criticizing the brand or the type of game they're playing, because it's been very effective and it's playing to their strengths. And they have lots of dynamic ball carrying ability throughout the team, in their forwards, in their backs. So, but, it's going to take a hell of a performance from Australia. But they'll get hope, as you said at the start of this chat. They'll get a lot of hope from the fact that Parecki, Skelton, Valetini are back in the side, and the hope will be that the other players will rise to that occasion as well, and get right in the faces of the Lions team and make a real test match of it.